Hello there. So today I want to talk more about social media, how we got to where we got to. That's the thing I care about most usually when it comes to these sorts of things, political stuff. I usually tend to care more about how we got to where we got to, and once we can understand how we got to where we got to, we can understand how to deal with it. If we don't know how we got to where we got to, how in the world are we going to deal with it? How can we know what to do about it? How can you make a conclusion that this is the right thing to do about this thing if you don't even know why we have this bad thing going on in the first place? So usually you got to actually figure out what went wrong, then you could correct it. So this is what I care about doing. This is what I'm doing here. Okay, so how we got to social media being what it is. So I actually think this goes back to the radio. Um, as far as I know, there was religious zealots speaking out against listening to the radio and stuff. It's the devil's box or whatever it is. They said about the television. As far as I know, they said about social media. Religious zealots just against all this stuff, as far as I'm concerned, and they usually just say it's from the devil. Basically, that's my understanding of what the gist of it is. Um, and I think they're right. Not that it's the devil, but that there's something wrong with it. And they just didn't say what. They just didn't like it, and they just said it was a devil, and everyone basically thought to themselves, these people are kind of nuts, so we're just going to ignore them here, and we'll move on doing our religious thing our way, and that's that. Um, so we got to figure out got to understand what was happening here now, regardless of what they were saying. What was happening is people were living their life, doing their religious activities, because they were raised to believe they have to be doing these things, and then when it came to these things like listening to the radio, let's say on your way to work or at home or whatever it is, I think there was this thing happening in people's minds who were engaging in these things where this is the real world. There's that stuff that's like, I gotta just do that stuff, but now it's reality. And part of the reality is listening to the radio, going to work, family with the dinner with the family, and whatever it is. And the religious stuff was kind of sidestepped for the other world. And more, the more people were engaging in this stuff, they were engaging less with the religious stuff. And they understood there was importance to the religious stuff, and they still do, but a lot of it was sidestepped for the religious stuff. Now we're living our lives simultaneously, partially religious, partially secular. And there's a lot of stuff in the secular world going on, like now more than ever. Between the radio, people listen to still, or maybe not because now we've got smartphones and people are just listening to what they want. So you got your YouTube, I guess, or your podcast, or your mainstream music, I guess people are listening to. Then you got your news outlets, you got your social media outlets. There was a television all these years. People are following this stuff with their lives, like every part of their lives. This is as much a part of it as religion is, if not even more. So what's happening is that they are embracing the secular stuff going on, the radio and the television and the movies and all that stuff. They're embracing it in their lives and putting aside the religious part of things. And what's happening is this is becoming embedded in people, and they're embracing more stuff from those things that are fantasy, essentially. Stuff from what's going on there is not necessarily reality. It could be like news could be real, but it could also be, as we know, we have fake news. We have things going on from what people say. And I think people are following this for years and years and years and establishing in their minds, this is real, this is reality. And they're kind of been sidestepping the religious thing, even though they have their own way of worshiping or whatever it is. But that became more their religion. The people on the right, they speak about how the left is secular and the secularism is their religion. There's something they're missing, though. They have their rituals and they have their different things that they're doing. The thing that they're missing, though, is their Bible. The Jews and the Christians, they have the Bible. The Quran is for the Muslims or whatever it is. But you're saying secular people are a religion too. They have secularism as their religion. Well, what is their Bible? So I think it's fair to say that their Bible, their text, is actually the radio, the media, all the stuff going on the left, that the people they follow, CNN, all of that. When they hear that, whatever they're saying, the crazy stuff that they're saying, as far as I'm concerned, they're just hearing like Bible verses, and they're just following what it says. And that's all they know. That's what they know to do. Their worldview is not anymore about serving God. Their worldview is about serving this other religion that they've just been watching and following all of their life. and embracing that as their worldview. They're basing their worldview around what has been presented to them for what life looks like. I saw this guy, Jeff Durbin, one time. He was debating an atheist. The atheist was saying, that's not immoral. And Jeff asks him, what are you talking about? What do you mean that's not immoral? And he said, that's not immoral. He says, what is your worldview that explains what is immoral and what is moral? Based on your worldview, we're a bunch of bags of meat. We're a bunch of space dust. We're just whatever it is. We're basically just like fizzing or whatever. How we're fizzing, he said, doesn't make a difference what we do in that process from a literal standpoint. The moral aspect is a religious aspect. You're now touting religiousness based on nothing, and I'm realizing that it's not based on nothing. It's based on his worldview. What is his worldview? His worldview is based on the movies and the shows and everything he was raised in. That's his text for the Bible telling him what to do. Is there a God? No, because it's secular. But it is a religion nonetheless that has things that religions have and need. So all the stuff, all these outlets will say, they will follow as if it's the Bible. And that's how we got to social media being what it is. And people follow what it is. It blew my mind that everyone who's anybody, my whole life growing up, I never knew anything about Trump. But I never heard anything bad about him. Millionaire, everyone wanted to beat Trump, million songs with him in it. And right away, CNN says Trump's bad, Trump's a racist, Trump is whatever. And these people's minds, that was their religious text telling them, Trump's a racist. And that was it. That was basically in their mind now. And that's what it was. So I'm not going to say don't listen to these things or watch these things or anything like that. But try putting in your life religion first, God first, embracing that as your primary thing. Because I do think that there's good that comes from the movies and the TV and the arts and social media. I do think all these things have good in them. But when they take you over and you're pushing aside the values, God and religion and all that stuff for these things, you're not putting God first and religion first, that's when I think you're likely to embrace secular ideals. It's been for years and years I'm seeing things about being pro-choice, about being for social programs, about feeding whoever through the government. All these things have been instilled in these people's minds just from watching shows and movies and news for all these years. I've heard all these same things myself, but I didn't pay any mind to them because I didn't care about anything politically. So it's like I heard them, they were there, but they didn't matter to me. Where other people, they heard them, but they mattered to them. They embraced them. It became their worldview. Me, whatever. There's a lot of people like me too who just didn't care or whatever it is, and they're lost, and they have some form of a worldview of how things should be, in reality, based on television and the movies and all that stuff. As have I, and I'm sure I still do to some extent. But a lot of it, I had to really reconsider a lot of my views on things that I know I got from growing up with the movies and the TV and the radio and all that stuff. I know for myself, I fell victim to it as well, and I'm sure many of us we don't even realize it. So I think it's important, people on the right, people trying to push the right things, you understand, this is all these outlets, all these things out there, look at it as the leftist Bible. And you can actually look at the Bible, you can like things in the Bible, but in their Bible, I'd say, you can like what it does for you, like their movies and the TV and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, understand, that's secondary, or on the bottom of the list of things. But the top thing is really God and your religion and all that stuff. Embrace that. Don't embrace secularism, leftism. Disengage. I'll watch movies and think to myself, this is an awful movie. The morals in it's awful and all that stuff, but it's still a really good movie. It's still one of my favorite characters is the Joker. The Joker is just an incredible character, and he's psychotic and completely immoral, and he's a great character. Would I embrace the Joker, his worldview or anything like that? No, not in the slightest bit. Am I able to watch him without doing that? Yes, because it's nothing to do with that. So we can actually watch things that are immoral and bad and not actually embrace them. We have to understand what we're doing, what's going on here, the power of these things. And I don't think people realize the power of these things is as powerful as religion which is why it's taking over the society as much as it has. Fact of the matter is, 2020 election happened and Trump lost and Biden won. The only reason I can think of Biden winning is because the social media and the TV and the news networks and all that stuff told everyone to. And there's so many people that have just been doing this for so many years, they just fell in line and went along with it. And that's the reason. I actually don't personally believe Biden really won, but I still think the vast majority of votes that went to him were real votes. I don't think he won, but I still think the vast majority. They say 80 million votes he got or something. So let's say he got 60 million, meaning he lost. 60 million people hypnotized, as far as I'm concerned, from the social media outlets telling them to just vote for Biden. For what? Because Trump's a racist. Who told them Trump's a racist? They did. Their text, their Bible. As far as the left is concerned, all these outlets are their God. And understanding that is crucial and significant, and engaging in these things in any capacity, even in our own way, it can have the same effect. It's not like the right can't do it as well. It can all be done everywhere. We have to be very careful with it and be understanding about it, and understand it could come to the conclusion as the devil. Now you look at it now and you think about it. If all this is happening and destroying the country, it's as if it was the devil itself actually doing this to the country, through the radio, through the television, through the social media outlets, through all this stuff. The fact that all these religious outlets were saying that, there's truth to it. If you in hindsight's 2020, so you can see truth in it, but it's still, we got to be very careful. I'm not saying we need to abolish any of this stuff, get rid of it. Just be very careful. We should teach education better and actually make sure we can actually go the right way. If we're not going to go the way we got to go, we're going to go down the wrong path. We're going to get hurt at the end. We got to make sure we're watching television. We're doing all these things we're watching. We got to make sure perhaps have more religion, get closer to God, understand, question all your values, question all your views, make sure they line up with the values and the views from religion, from God, and from all that stuff, where values come from. Anyhow, that's all I got for that. All the best, and thanks for watching.